What's up guys, it's Shawn, your Charleston Realtor, coming at you with another video on one of my favorite subjects, real estate investing. Now if you're watching this video, you're probably interested in investing in Charleston, South Carolina. Now I'm going to approach this video from a couple of angles. First, I'm only going to focus on residential real estate here. I'm also going to view this from the lens of someone who is just starting out investing or who might already have a couple deals under their belt already. I'm also not going to talk about house hacking in this video, as much as I love it. I'm strictly going to take investing from the perspective that you already own a rental property and now you need to figure out what to do with it. How to find, analyze, and buy rental properties are separate videos. Keep in mind that most of my take on investing can be extrapolated to other markets, not just Charleston. So be sure you stay until the end when I talk about the 4 ways to maximize the cash flow from your investments. So right off the bat, Charleston is obviously an expensive market. In fact, it's probably the most expensive market in all of South Carolina, beating Columbia, Greenville, Myrtle Beach, Beaufort, Rock Hills, and Spartanburg in terms of sales price. One could say it's a hard market to break into, and I understand that. And if you do manage to buy a rental property in Charleston, there's a chance it won't cash flow as a traditional rental unless you find a perfect deal. So why even bother? Well, as I like to explain it, there's really 2 sides of a spectrum. On one side of the spectrum is pure cash flow, where you can buy a rental property for dirt cheap and then rent it out to a traditional tenant where your mortgage is paid for and then some. That leftover difference between your debt liability and your monthly rent is the money you take home each month. So set aside some cash for maintenance and vacancy, you're left with monthly cash flow. So pure cash flow markets are pretty notorious in the US Midwest, in states such as Illinois, Ohio, and Indiana. But even in South Carolina, there are markets that are going to give great cash flow, just not Charleston. Now on the other side of this continuum or spectrum lies appreciation, so cash flow appreciation. Some markets will appreciate more than others, and when I say appreciation, I mean the value of your asset will grow in time, meaning the equity stake will increase without you having to do anything. Just letting natural market forces work. And while you should not invest for appreciation, just understand that some parts of the country will grow faster than others. And when you take into account demographic shifts, population growth, wage growth, housing supply and demand, and rent growth, you can better identify a market that is appreciating. And let's be honest, of the 4 advantages of owning real estate, that is principal paydown, cash flow, appreciation, and tax benefits, only appreciation will truly build you wealth in the long term. So on this continuum of cash flow versus appreciation, I think Charleston is skewed towards the appreciation side. The city is poised to grow in the coming decades with industry, military, and the port presence here. Not to mention the incredible tourism industry that the city has. So this leaves investors with a predicament. How can I make my investment cash flow, especially with current interest rates? Well, we've already established that you want to invest in a market that is prone to appreciate. So significant cash flow is just the gravy on top. Oh, and one last thing I want to point out about the Charleston market, including all the submarkets, is it's almost exclusively single-family homes. We don't really have the 2 to 4 unit multifamily here in any significant number. And the ones that we do have are either priced incredibly high or are in C or D class neighborhoods. Well, here are 4 strategies outside the traditional long-term rental route to help your investment cash flow. So 1, consider going the midterm rental route. A midterm rental is a furnished rental where traveling professionals or transient families can rent for usually 1 to 3 months, sometimes as much as 6 months. Because the rental is fully furnished and you provide utilities, you can rent it out at a premium. A home that doesn't cash flow as a traditional long-term rental might actually cash flow as a midterm rental. For instance, in the West Ashley area of Charleston, where I have my own midterm rental, a standard 3-bedroom house may rent for the low 2,000s as a long-term rental, but will rent for the low 3,000s as a midterm rental. In my opinion, the best place to analyze midterm rentals is furnishfinder.com, and just take a look at the inventory on the website. You can also set up a midterm rental through online booking agencies such as Airbnb or Vrbo, but there are some disadvantages to this because you don't fully control who is renting your home. A midterm rental is advantageous because it's going to be less turnover than a standard short-term rental, but substantially more cash flow than a long-term rental. Also, a midterm rental is allowed through most city ordinances because leases are longer than 30 days, so no worries about the city shutting you down. Second, consider transitioning your property to a short-term rental by posting on websites such as Airbnb or Vrbo. The turnover is a lot higher here and there's going to be substantially more headache, but your monthly cash flow will definitely be higher. You're going to need to arrange furnishing, cleaning after each guest, coming up with a system for maintenance and dropping off supplies, and providing a whole lot of customer service. I'll be completely honest with you, it's a lot of work, but the payoff can be huge. My own Airbnb in the Charleston metro nets around 2 to 3 times what I would normally make as a traditional long-term rental. However, the mistake I see so many investors make is that they don't treat the Airbnb as a business. They assume it's just another real estate investing strategy, and it kind of is, but it's more hospitality business than it is real estate investing. If you're not prepared for that, then you're best off sticking to something more traditional. So third, consider transitioning your property to a rent by the room model. This investing strategy involves taking your house that has 4, 5, or 6 bedrooms, or that can be made into more bedrooms, and then renting out those bedrooms individually to long-term tenants on a year-long lease. So some of the individual rooms will fetch more rent than others based on factors like size and whether or not the room has a private bathroom. You'll furnish the common area, come up with a list of house rules, and add keypad locks to each door. It's almost like a small apartment in a residential area. If you're not aware of this investing strategy, you'd be surprised by how much demand there is for affordable housing like this. Instead of renting a studio apartment for $1,200 a month and then having to pay another couple hundred for utilities, your tenant could rent a private room for $600. If you provide a good product, give attention to your property, and properly screen your tenants, you can have a smooth running investment that has fantastic cash flow. I do this with one of my 5-bedroom houses, and I gross about twice what I would gross as a traditional rental. I also pay for utilities, monthly cleaning, and lawn care, but I expect my tenants to complete a cleaning checklist each week. And the property is well maintained. It's highly desirable, and I think you'd be surprised at the demand for individual rooms like this. Lastly, and I know this might get me some flack, but consider Section 8 housing. Section 8 refers to the housing voucher program that the U.S. government provides to low-income families, the disabled, and the elderly. There's an extra step or two to get your property Section 8 certified, but it's not too difficult. There's a couple advantages to Section 8, such as the tenant has to take care of the home, lest they lose their housing vouchers. The reason why I say Section 8 is a great alternative to a traditional rental is because you might actually be able to rent the home for more, and here's why. Section 8 housing prices are based on really 2 things. 1, the number of bedrooms that you have, and then 2, the zip code in which your property is in. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, calls this fair market rent. As you can see from this table of Berkeley County fair market rents, a zip code all the way out in St. Stephen's or Moncks Corner can get almost the same amount in rent as a zip code elsewhere in Berkeley County. Except a 4-bedroom home in these outlier zip codes will be half or even a third of the price of a 4-bedroom home closer to Charleston. Section 8 is a great opportunity to invest in the low country while still making substantial cash flow. All you need is to maximize your bedroom count, and HUD has a couple definitions about what constitutes a bedroom. So to recap, Charleston is a market that skews closer to appreciation than it does cash flow. But as long as you're creative, you can still make your property cash flow. Consider the midterm rental route and rent your home to traveling professionals. Or, if you want to go the short-term rental route, you'll probably make the most money, but it'll demand a lot more of your time. And if you want to double your cash flow from a larger home, consider renting out each room individually instead of the house as a whole. And lastly, I know Section 8 has certain connotations with it, but it is a viable investing strategy here in the low country. So I hope this video was informative. Please consider liking and subscribing, it really helps me out, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.